Garrett Crochet being as ace as they come is just one of many positive takeaways for the Boston Red Sox from April.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox Monday through Friday straight to your favorite podcast feed, and it's completely free. So you might as well tune in because Locked On is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Welcome to the show. Happy Thursday as the Red Sox approach their series finale against the Mariners. And speaking of approaching finales, we are almost at the end of April. Can you believe that? I have no idea where the time went or what happened to this first month of the season, but it's definitely been an absolute whirlwind for the Red Sox. Some highs and some very low lows. And because of the end of the month quickly approaching, I'm going to be going over some positive and negative takeaways from the month of April for the Red Sox as they progress through the rest of the season and hope to be a playoff team. Also, a little bit later, I'm going to be giving some injury updates because it's been a while since we've gotten some updates on certain players. So I wanted to keep you in the loop on what's going on with everybody. Now, in terms of the month of April, it's been very up and down for the Red Sox. At the beginning, they were certainly struggling, and then they came home and they swept the Cardinals to start the season at home. And then they struggled against the Blue Jays, and they played really well against the White Sox and even the Rays. And it's hard to really determine what this team is right now. And I always say that every single year, that April does not determine what a team actually is or what they're going to be, especially because of all the injuries to a team like the Boston Red Sox. That definitely has to be considered when you're evaluating the performances of this baseball team. Now, there are many things that we can take away from the season so far for the Red Sox that are positive. One of those being that Garrett Crochet so far is turning out to be everything that the Red Sox wanted him to be. An ace, a true number one starter who can pitch deeper into games and give up 0 runs a lot of the time. And the thing that's been the sharpest about Garrett Crochet, both his fastball and his off-speed stuff have been deadly. And there isn't a certain pitch that I pinpoint to and say, this needs significant improvement. Obviously, every pitcher has pitches that they're more comfortable with than other ones, but in terms of his overall pitch arsenal, he has a great variety of pitches that he uses. And when you trade for somebody like that, you really hope that he can be a true number one starter. And that's exactly what Garrett Crochet has panned out to be so far for the Red Sox. Hopefully that continues into May and over the course of the rest of the season, because it's been a while since the Red Sox have had that true number one starter. And now that they finally have one in Crochet, they're like, all right, let's maintain this. Let's make sure this guy is giving us everything we need consistently for the whole season, because you want a guy who's going to step foot on the mound every 5 days and you know is going to be reliable. And that so far has certainly been Crochet. Then another positive takeaway that we can talk about so far in April is Trevor Story and how good and reliable he has been offensively this season, now that he's finally healthy with this Boston Red Sox team. And I have had times for sure where I also have gotten frustrated with Story, but I have also said he deserves a chance because he has not had a fully healthy season in a Boston Red Sox uniform yet, because his spring training has gotten cut short and he has missed a lot of the season, such as last year, by being sidelined with an injury. So I said, well, let's see how he does when he's fully healthy. Now he's fully healthy and his offensive numbers have been very productive for this Red Sox team. And that's the version of Trevor Story's offense that we were looking for and the guy at the plate that we need to be able to consistently deliver. Now, will he be able to be consistent with it? That's going to be the key moving forward with him when it comes to his offense, is maintaining this same level of productivity that he is now, driving in runs, crushing baseballs, hitting homers, hitting singles, hitting doubles. This is the version of Trevor Story that everybody envisioned, but we hadn't gotten it until now. And now everybody's like, all right, let's maintain this. Let's keep up with it. So hopefully he can maintain that. Defensively, he hasn't been the sharpest. He has made some throwing errors at shortstop this season. I'm hoping that he can turn that around as the season progresses moving forward. But his offense so far has definitely been a positive takeaway from April. Another positive takeaway that's a more recent one is the emergence of Walker Buehler and how sharp he's looked over his last few starts. Early on in the season, in his first couple starts, he struggled and he had base traffic a lot, and it escalated as opposed to him putting it away. And as of lately, he's been able to establish that put away pitch that has been able to get guys out and control the situation, even if there are players on the bases. And that's a big difference that I've noticed in him over his last few starts, and something that has allowed him to be a lot more effective. So if Buehler can continue to pitch like that, that could end up being one of the biggest steals of the offseason, is the Boston Red Sox acquiring Walker Buehler, a guy who's a champion, knows how to win, wants to win, and is hungry and can help make this locker room better because of the experience that he does have. I'm looking at him as a guy who can make a huge difference down the road for this team, as long as he continues to pitch really well like he has been over his last couple starts. Kristian Campbell, another big positive takeaway from the month of April, a guy who got called up to start the season for the first time on the major league roster, a guy who's absolutely sailed through the Red Sox farm system. Now, obviously, you don't know how a guy's going to perform ever until they are making their way up, and you don't know how they're going to pan out in the majors. And the Red Sox were fairly certain and fairly confident that Kristian Campbell would be a guy who would deliver in the majors. And so far, he certainly has. He's been a force to be reckoned with on offense, showing all sides of himself, showing that he can be versatile because he can play multiple positions in the field. He's been hitting consistently pretty well. He has hit a bit of a cold slump, but overall, he's still making an impact. He's still finding a way to get on base a lot, and he's stealing bases. And the biggest thing with Campbell that I'm taking away from him so far is that he truly portrays this level of versatility that we only really see in Jarren Duran besides him. Now, Kristian Campbell's defense is not as good as Duran's as of now. He definitely needs more time defensively to develop into the player with his glove that we need him to be. But in terms of the versatility and skill set, it's a similar concept in that he can do multiple things. Also, the fact that he plays both in the infield and in the outfield makes him a little bit more of a prized possession too. So going into the season, when the news came out that he was going to be on the major league roster to start the season, I wasn't exactly sure how that was going to go. If he was going to start off super slow, if he was going to struggle because of the transition. But no, he started the season full speed ahead, seemed to hit no bumps in the road until recently, and he looks completely comfortable in the majors. And that is super exciting and super promising for a kid who is hungry and just really wants to go out there and perform at his best every single day. And speaking of young players who we've gotten exposure to, and another positive takeaway from April was how well Hunter Dobbins has pitched. I mean, he has only made a couple major league starts, but he's looked really good in both. And I hope the Red Sox give him more of a shot. He is in AAA right now, but I'm hoping he gets another opportunity up in the majors to throw again, because the two outings that he has had have both been impressive. He's a guy who has a lot of composure on the mound, a guy who has a quick delivery, and a guy who has 3 pitches that he shows off on a consistent basis in his arsenal, and it has allowed him to succeed on the mound. And the confidence is the biggest thing for me that I really look at with him that I like a lot, is that he portrays this level of a calm demeanor, and it makes everybody else around him calm. So that's definitely an exciting takeaway, because it shows that the future of the Red Sox pitching staff could be in really good hands with a guy like Dobbins in the mix. And then you combine that with Richard Fitts and the abilities that he's shown to be very competitive. It's too bad he's on the injured list right now, but when he was healthy, he was pitching well too. So it shows that the farm system for pitching for the Red Sox right now maybe a little bit better than people think in terms of talent. So I'm really also excited to see Fitz come back from the IL, and hopefully they'll find a spot for him because he is a guy who can be very reliable. Another bright spot for this team is Rafael Devers and how much he's turned things around after his very slow start at the plate. And things were getting a little bit concerning with him. People were saying, oh, is he gonna ever go back to the version of Devers that we know, the guy who's dominating at the plate and the guy who's a very dangerous hitter? And after that first slump to start the season, there were people who genuinely weren't sure if that was going to happen or not. But he has since turned things around and done it very well. It's a drastic turnaround for him. He's back to being the version of Rafael Devers that some opposing pitchers might not want to throw to. Garrett Cole, I'm looking at you. And guys who might be newer to Major League Baseball making their debuts. Rafael Devers is not exactly a hitter that you want to throw the ball to. So that's definitely a promising thing and a positive takeaway that we've gotten from the month of April was that he was able to turn things around as drastically as he has, because I certainly feel like this team is so much better when Devers is hitting. Another positive asset, Wilyer Abreu, and just how well he has been hitting, how consistent he has been at the plate in terms of being a positive difference maker. And we did get a glimpse of this from him last year. I mean, not only did he win a Gold Glove defensively, so we knew he was a really good defender, but he also showed off a lot at the plate in his rookie season. And I was really excited to see how that went for him moving forward. I was really excited to see him go out there and contribute as much as possible offensively to this team, because I felt like there was so much ability there with him. And sure enough, that's exactly what we've seen. We've seen a guy who has gone out there and has made such a positive impact on his team offensively this year. And for a good stretch of the season, he was the best hitter on the team. To start the season when the offense wasn't hitting, he was a guy who was. And that was really refreshing to see. And he's a guy who just continues to get it done on a daily basis for this team. And it's making it really hard for the Red Sox to justify trading him when Roman Anthony eventually gets called up. And that's a good problem for the Red Sox to have. They have a deep outfield, and that is a good thing. And I'm very happy with the fact that the Red Sox are going to have some tough decisions to make, because it really speaks to the depth of the team. Now, another big positive takeaway is how good the really high leverage relievers have been on this team. Garrett Whitlock, Justin Slayton, and Aroldis Chapman. 3 guys who have really gone out there and have taken care of business. And I had my doubts about Chapman because he's getting older. He has problems with walks, but he has gone out there and he has been a guy who has been very hard to hit, especially because he can still throw 102 miles an hour. So that's hard in itself to hit, but he has been a very reliable pitcher in that closing role right now. Justin Slayton and Garrett Whitlock as setup men have also been incredibly reliable. So it's nice that the Red Sox have 3 solid relievers that they can turn to in the pen who can pitch in high leverage situations and be very good and be reliable, because the Red Sox haven't always had that. So there are many things to take away from the month of April that are positive for the Red Sox to look forward to heading into the rest of the season. But coming up, I'm going to be talking about some of the negative takeaways from this season. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles, from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Avowed, as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. With Wi-Fi 6/6E and auto low latency mode advanced technology, Fire TV Stick 4K delivers smoother, more responsive gameplay with lightning fast speeds you need to stay competitive. With 4K streaming, watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. Hosts with hardcore gaming experience would love this, as well as anybody else out there in the Red Sox community who enjoys gaming. This is 100% for you, because it can be an absolute game changer. Head to amazon.com/FireTV Locked to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd gen. Now, I am not really what I would consider a gamer, but my husband is, as are some of his friends. So they are all on top of this. And ever since they've started using it, they love it and think it's one of their best things they've ever gotten. So I highly recommend, if you are into gaming, using it. As we look back on the month of April for the Boston Red Sox, we reflect on the positive and negative takeaways from the first month of the season. And like I said earlier on in the show, I cannot believe that it has already been almost a full month of the season so far. That absolutely flew by. And while there has been some frustrating times with the Red Sox, they're also having good times with the Red Sox too. And when you look at some of the positive takeaways, it also is important to look at the negative takeaways and the things that they could improve on in these next few months. And one of these things I did talk about on yesterday's show, and that was the middle relief portion of the Red Sox bullpen. That has been a struggle so far this year. Guys like Zach Kelly, Josh Winkowski, Brennan Bernardino, Greg Weissert, and Justin Wilson to a little bit of a lesser extent. Those guys have all been pretty inconsistent. Now, Justin Wilson obviously hasn't looked incredibly sharp as of late, but overall, in terms of his underlying metrics, he has been one of the better relievers on this team. But Greg Weissert has been inconsistent lately. Zach Kelly has been all over the place all season in terms of inconsistency. And then you look at a guy like Josh Winkowski, who started the season in AAA and got called up, and he has been a little bit better than expected, but still not a guy that I would trust in high leverage. And that's where this gray area comes in, because you do want guys who you can throw out there in situations where it's a blowout. For example, like if the Red Sox are winning by a lot of runs or they're losing by a lot of runs, you bring in one of those types of guys to eat innings, kind of like Chase Anderson last year. He was the innings eater when it was a blowout game and the results couldn't really be changed anymore. That was a useful role because it allowed the Red Sox to rest other relievers and not use the guys who might need to be used later on in the series or the next day or what have you. And so Alex Cora was able to not have to force them to pitch in games when it might not necessarily be the best spot for them to pitch. So you definitely need a couple guys like that who can pitch in those types of games. But the problem is that if you play a lot of close games, that's where it becomes an issue, because in the close games, yes, you throw your high leverage guys, but you still need those reliable bridge guys who can maintain that close 1 or 2 run lead that you might have at the time in order to pass it off to a Whitlock or a Slayton or a Chapman. You need the guys in between there who can be reliable enough to pass it off. And that's where it becomes iffy of, I don't feel like the Red Sox have enough of those reliable guys in the middle relief role to be able to be relied upon. I'm hoping that's something that they can address. Maybe getting closer to the trade deadline is get some better arms for middle relief, or hope that there are guys who continue to develop into that role and guys who can make a difference in multiple ways, either as a 1 inning guy or a 2 inning guy, or maybe a guy who pitches in long relief like Garrett Whitlock, who can save some of those more unreliable pitchers and can pitch a few innings so that Alex Cora doesn't need to use those guys as much. So whatever it may be, it definitely is important to rely on your most reliable pitchers, but you also want to have secondary guys that you can at least trust to maintain a lead that you have, even if they have some bumps along the way. So that's one of the biggest negative takeaways from April, is that there were just not enough guys in that middle relief area who were reliable enough. Now, if you look at other negative takeaways from the season so far, it's been the defensive errors, which seem to have gotten a little bit more under wraps as of late. But Alex Bregman and Trevor Story with the continuous throwing errors in the infield, and the Red Sox making outfield errors also, and basically handing teams runs because of all the errors and handing the other team wins because of all the errors. That is one of the biggest things to me that the Red Sox have to do better moving forward, is they cannot make that many errors. That is something to me that has just always bothered me about this team, because you have the reigning Gold Glover at third base and you have Trevor Story, a guy who has always been known to be one of the best defenders in the sport. You have those two guys on that side of the field at third base and shortstop, and you're telling me the Red Sox have a lot more errors than some other teams. That's just not acceptable, and that's something that I'm hoping they fix moving forward, because that's something that's been a big problem this season. The injuries are definitely obviously a negative takeaway as well, between Liam Hendriks and then Brian Bayo and Lucas Giolito, Connor Wong, and, even to an extent, some other players, Cutter Crawford, Masataka Yoshida, all of these guys, even though a couple of them, it might not be clear where they fit when they get back, do make an impact. And them being on the IL hurts the Red Sox, because then you have to find ways to compensate it. You have to call up guys from AAA, or you have to move players around and hope that somebody else can fill somebody's shoes of an injured player. So injuries are obviously always a negative, and unfortunately they're part of the game, but definitely something that's worth pointing out, because the Red Sox have experienced quite a few injuries already so far this season. I'm hoping they can get healthier, because we really are going to need a healthy team come October. Tanner Houck is a negative takeaway from April for this team too, because honestly, I had much higher expectations for him. He's a guy who had a really good first half of the season last year, was in Cy Young conversations, and then goes into the second half and just significantly declines. A guy who doesn't pitch nearly as well in the second half, and I was worried about what version of him we were going to get going into this season. I said, are we going to get the guy who was really solid that pitched in the first half of the season, or are we going to get the guy who struggled in the second half? And so far, we've gotten a little bit more of the guy who struggled in the second half of the season than we did the guy who pitched in the first half and pitched well. So that's obviously not positive. That's something that the Red Sox really need to hope gets better, because they need Tanner Houck to pitch well. They need him to be reliable. They need him to be ideally a number 2, maybe number 3 starter. If they have Walker Buehler pitching as well as he is, then maybe Tanner Houck could get away with being a 3. But going into the season, people hoped that Houck could be the number 2 starter behind Garrett Crochet. So it's definitely tough that they have Tanner Houck struggling in the way that he is, because as of right now, he's not pitching better than a 3. And that's something that I've been very disappointed in this season. So hopefully he's somebody who can get himself going and kind of get back on track towards being a reliable starter for this team, because he's just been all over the place so far. When we're looking at negative takeaways from the season so far and the month of April and what it has been, is how wishy-washy the offense has been, because the offense as a whole is supposed to be very competitive, supposed to be one of the best offenses in baseball, because that's what they were last year, and they just hadn't consistently been able to hit. And I'm hoping that now that some more guys are getting going, that maybe they'll consistently hit better. But they have games where they only put up a run. For example, beating Tampa Bay 1-0 last week is a prime example of that. Or they'll have games where they score 13 runs. And obviously every offense has ups and downs. That's a given. But the fact that the Red Sox offense was as ice cold as it was to start the season was very tough to watch as a fan. So that's something that I would say was a negative from April, was especially early on in the season, they just couldn't really get going offensively. And going hand in hand with that, I would say a negative April takeaway was Triston Casas and just how he underwhelmed at the plate. His underlying metrics and his ability to hit the ball is definitely still there. And he's hitting some baseballs really hard. They're just not falling for hits. He did have a big 3-run home run against the Mariners, and that was huge. But overall, with Triston, he hasn't had things go his way at the plate, and he's been frustrated about it. The confidence level is still there with him, and hopefully he's able to continue to hit well. But the problem is that he is the first baseman, and the Red Sox are really heavily relying on him to hit well where he's hitting. And it got to the point where the Red Sox had to move him down in the order because he wasn't producing. So I'm hoping he could get back to being one of the key high powering offensive bats that this team has in the lineup, because he definitely so far has been a letdown for what this team is trying to do and where they're trying to go. And also to an extent, Jarren Duran. I mean, he still has the ability to turn singles into doubles. That's just always how he is. But from a productivity at the plate standpoint, I would say he's definitely been a little bit overwhelming. I expect that to change as the season progresses, because Jarren Duran is just too talented to not fully turn things around. He has had his very good moments, but I would like to see a little bit more consistency there. from him. Obviously, he's still showcasing his versatility and his ability to go out there and make an impact in multiple ways, whether it's defensively or on the base paths or offensively, but his offense needs to catch up a little bit to how he's making a difference in other areas. So Jarren Duran, definitely not so much of a negative takeaway, more just a what's going on with him. Hopefully he can turn it around soon. So those are some negative takeaways from the month of April so far. And I mentioned injuries and how they've been a negative takeaway for this team so far. Can they stay healthy moving forward the rest of the season? That's what we can hope, but I'm going to be giving some injury updates coming up next. There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, and the smell of ballpark food. And if you're looking to go last minute, GameTime makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last minute deals, all-in pricing, and lowest price guarantee, GameTime takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as game time gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal. I recently grabbed last-minute tickets for a game, and GameTime had unbeatable prices, which meant more money for food and merch, which never complained about that. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. GameTime really will guarantee you the lowest prices. I have so much personal experience using it, and I quite literally do not use any other ticketing vendors anymore because GameTime is always a lot cheaper than everything else. So I highly encourage you to check it out the next time you want to go to a sporting event. I discussed some of the positive and negative takeaways from the Boston Red Sox month of April because I can't believe it's already almost May. This last month flew by, but it's been such a fun month having baseball back. And hopefully the weather in New England starts to get a little bit more. Starts to get a little bit better. We haven't had a lot of great baseball days so far weather-wise, which has been super unfortunate, but hopefully we do get more consistently nice days soon. But I wanted to just talk about some injury updates as the Red Sox have gotten some players back, like Brayan Bello and Liam Hendriks. So Lucas Giolito, who's suffering a low-grade left hamstring strain, his expected return is possibly in the series against the Blue Jays from April 30th to May 1st. He went 5 innings in the 4th start of his minor league rehab assignment on April 20th. He'll make one more rehab start before rejoining the Red Sox right around the end of the month. So that's the target goal for the Red Sox, is to activate him by that Toronto series at the end of April into early May, as long as everything goes well with his rehab start. His last rehab start is going to be on Friday with the Woo Sox. I will be there, so I will talk about how he looked in that outing and talk about what's expected of him moving forward. Cutter Crawford, who the Red Sox just haven't given a lot of updates on in general, he's suffering right patellar soreness. His expected return is June at the earliest, so he's nowhere close to coming back now. He threw an up and down bullpen session at Fenway Park on April 22nd and will report to Fort Myers on April 24th, which is today, when he will start the process of pitching to hitters and starting extended spring games before a rehab assignment. So he's still far off from returning. He's a guy who the Red Sox can hope when he does come back is able to bounce back from his injury and not be too rusty, because of the fact that it's been a while since he has thrown in Major League Baseball. Obviously, a pending question is going to be, how are the Red Sox going to handle the situation with the rotation? Are they going to have a 6-man rotation, or are they going to have him throw a multi-inning relief type of role? We'll have to see when he comes back how they handle that. Connor Wong, who's dealing with a left pinky fracture, which we all saw was not fun. He's expected to return soon in May. He's recovering as quickly as the Red Sox could have hoped that he would. He caught Cutter Crawford's bullpen session on April 22nd and is also starting to hit. So he is kind of at a good spot right now. He just needs to continue baseball activity for a bit, make sure everything feels okay, but he should be back relatively soon. And then the Red Sox will then probably send Blake Saville back to AAA. He's just up temporarily until Wong comes back. Richard Fitz, who's dealing with a right mild pectoral strain, he's expected to return in May, so not much time on the IL for him. He resumed playing catch on April 20th, which is a sign that he is recovering at a good pace. The righty was injured in his start against the White Sox on April 12th and had to be immediately pulled from the game, but he has since shown really good progress, so he should be back soon, which is good news for the Red Sox because he was pitching well when he was here. Masataka Yoshida dealing with right shoulder labrum tear, late May at the earliest for his return. He has not gone on a minor league rehab assignment yet. Why? Because of his throwing progression. Red Sox manager Alex Cora said that until Yoshida has more good days than bad days throwing, he won't be able to start playing in games. So they are very concerned about the throwing progression right now. It's not close to where they feel it should be at, so it could be a while before he comes back. Patrick Sandoval, recovering from left UCL injury. He's expected to return mid-season. We already knew this, that it probably wouldn't be until July at the earliest, which is mid-season. As of March 21st, he was throwing out to 105 feet. So they're taking things slow with him. Don't expect to hear a lot about him moving forward for a bit because he's still a good few months out with his recovery before he can even think about pitching in the majors again. Left-handed pitcher Chris Murphy, who underwent Tommy John surgery on April 10th, 2024. He's expected to return after the All-Star break because Tommy John is a long recovery process. He recently started to throw off the mound as he continues to progress from his surgery. So he is making little moves forward, and the Red Sox are hoping that that continues, but baby steps with him. It's going to be a long recovery for him, and the Red Sox are hoping that when he does come back, he can be a solid piece out of the pen because they definitely could use that. So the closest guys to coming back are Lucas Giolito, Connor Wong, and probably Richard Fitz, and everybody else are still going to be a little bit more time. So I'll be sure to continue to keep you updated on what's going on with those injuries. But hopefully we keep winning games and the Red Sox get off to a hot start in May because that would be huge for them. I do appreciate you tuning into Locked On Red Sox and making it your first listen today. Thank you so much. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's great. It's a great way to stay informed with what's going on across the league with all the other games. So make sure you check that out right after you listen to this show. Like I always say, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.